Hey there! A pen-loving friend of mine lent me a number of Sailor pens. Sailor is one of the focuses in his collection, and I will review a number of these. One of the more interesting things is to do a review of all those specialty Sailor nibs which he owns. But today we'll have a look at one of the more inexpensive Sailor pens. Now, Sailor is a brand from Japan, established in 1911. That's why a lot of their pens have 1911 on the center band or something. But this is one of their more inexpensive pens. It is the Sailor Prophet. It comes in this box. I've already taken it out so as not to fiddle around with the box too much. The interesting thing about this particular model is that it has the Fude de Mannen nib. Now, I have reviewed Fude nibs before, pretty much nibs intended to simulate a brush to do kanji characters in this case, or Asian ideograms. Okay, I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. Now, I have been fiddling around a bit to find a price of this pen. Usually in Europe, Japanese pens are incredibly expensive. That goes for Platinum Pilot, and I'm assuming it also goes for Sailor. I don't understand why, but it can be hundreds of euros more expensive than what they are in the US or are in Japan. Nobody knows why. That does not apply to other pen brands, but Japanese pens are very expensive here. Now, this one is sold here for around 29 euros. So even with that inflation, you can see that this is a very affordable model in the Pelican range that goes up to the thousands of euros. Okay, let's have a look at this pen. As you can see, simple finial of the pen, isn't really that much going on. It's just a simple dark, it's a very dark blue, not black, this finish. Here you have a cap with a simple gold colored clip and then a center band, and the center band says Made in Japan, Sailor. The barrel tapers down, and that's all there's to it. There isn't a lot more features. The cap unscrews, it does post, making for a very interestingly sized pen. I would say it's definitely not very short when you post it. When you don't post it, it is very small. This is almost a pocket pen, I would say. Now you have a section that is tapered, then flares out a bit, and a steel gold colored nib. And this is a Fude nib. Now, if you've never seen a Fude nib before, you may think that someone dropped this. Actually, this is meant to look this way, and you're supposed to alter the writing angle, so like this you would get a very broad stroke, like this a much finer stroke. I'll show you that in the writing sample. So again, you have a narrow, fine, small pen that when posted assumes a very decent size. These pens are filled by cartridges or converter. Cartridges, it comes with at least one cartridge. I can't see if one or two, but that's what it comes with, and there is a converter. Now, I don't know, as I said, I did not buy this. I just borrowed this from a friend. I don't know if it came with a converter, but in any case, it's a standard Sailor converter. These converters hold notoriously little ink, and especially if you have a nib as broad as this, that may lead you to run out of ink. Now, what do I like about the pen? What do I not like about the pen? Well, as far as Sailor pens go, it is very affordable. That it's affordable is nice because that means more people have access to it. And to be honest, for the price, it is a very well-made pen. I don't really feel any sharp corners. You feel the threads a little bit, but I mean, in general, I would say it is a well-made, nice, decent pen. It's definitely small, but that's something you know when you buy the pen. At least you know it now. It's not large, it's not big. What I do like is that it's all plastic, and I do believe that you might actually successfully convert this to an eyedropper filled pen, which is nice with such a broad nib. So I like the price. For me, it's too small. I cannot really use this comfortably, but it's not a very expensive pen either. So this is the type of pen I think that you buy to fiddle around with, play around with, and it is high quality. It is not a very inexpensive, say, Chinese pen where the quality control can be a bit dodgy. You can rest assured that if you buy a Sailor pen, it's going to write and write well. Okay, what do I not like about it? Well, as I said, the size for me is a bit of an issue, but that's a personal matter. What I don't like is that the ink capacity of these pens is very small. I don't know how well you can see this, but these Sailor cartridges, converters, have very narrow ink reservoirs, so they just don't hold a lot of ink. And if you use an extra fine Japanese nib, which would probably be something like extra fine in a Western pen, that is not so much of an issue. But if you use a nib like this that gushes ink, that becomes a problem, because I can finish a converter like this in 2 pages of writing, given that you have a nib like this. So that's a bit of an issue for me. Alright, now let's take a couple of measurements and then I'll do a writing sample. For your convenience, measurements have been taken offline. You seem to enjoy that. So the Sailor Prophet, it also comes in a brush pen, by the way, so then you have a brush tip instead of a fountain pen nib. Weight, 16 grams in total, 4 in the cap, 12 in the body. The capped length is 134.2 millimeters, that's 5.28 inches. Uncapped, 113.8 millimeters, that's 4.48 inches. Posted length, 143.4, that's 5.64 inches. Barrel diameter, 7.8 to 12.1, that's 0.30 to 0.47 inches. Section diameter 9 to 10.3, that's 0.35 to 0.40 inches. Okay, let's see how this pen writes. Marco, thanks a lot for borrowing this pen. No, sorry, lending this pen to me. I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we have a Sailor Fude nib. I have reviewed Fude nibs in the past, but if you are not familiar with that, this is basically a nib that looks like it has had a bad day at work and has been dropped, but they are supposed to look like this with a curved upward shape. And the fun in that is that you can use it as you can use a brush. So this happens to be a Sailor Prophet fountain pen, but let's look at what this nib does. Now I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to start with the underside. It's very dry. Let me prime that a bit. That's better. So here we have the Sailor Fude, and you can write with it like that. It's very hard and it doesn't flow too well, I find, but of course the real trick is using it the way it should be used. And then depending on the angle, you get this enormous line, and you can fiddle around a bit to find a sweet spot, but as you can see, this really simulates using a brush, and of course that's what it's designed for, to simulate a brush that is used in Asian calligraphy. You can play around, as I said, a bit with the angle, so if you really use it upside down, it's very dry. You can also really hold it almost perpendicular to the paper. I'm just going to write dogs and foxes. I would say you are already in a very good medium range here in normal nib terms, and if you really put the whole thing flat to the paper, then you get this very wide line. Dogs wide. Very interesting, very fascinating concept. Of course you get the most out of it if you do either Asian calligraphy or some type of art. For normal everyday writing, I would not recommend this nib. So that's all there's to it. Hope this